Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm your moderator, John North. John Becker is away. We've got an election that's coming up here very shortly, November the 5th, and among the ballots you may be taking part in is the one for the 6th District Senate race here in East Tennessee. That will feature a Republican and a Democrat. That's Becky Duncan Massey, who is the Republican incumbent, and also her challenger, Domonica Bryan. We're going to be talking to them this morning. Before we get to those questions, though, I want to introduce our panelists. You have Don Bosch, a Democrat who runs his own law firm. Welcome.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. And Susan Richardson Williams, she is a Republican and she runs her own PR firm. Good morning.
Good morning, John North.
Good to see you.
You too.
And so let's introduce our guests. As I mentioned, we've got Becky Duncan Massey, who is the Republican Senate incumbent, seeking another 4-year term. And to her left is Domonica Bryan. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So I'm going to ask the simple question, and then we'll get into maybe the more complex questions. And that is, and Ms. Bryan, we'll start with you. What is it about this race that interests you? Why are you running?
Honestly, I'm running because I'm a mom. And so the fear of dropping my child off at school every day has really prompted me and has really ignited kind of that mama bear instinct to come out and run and make some changes. I think that our 6th district is in need of leadership and is in need of really a voice for the people and someone who is willing to really just fight the fight and bring to the Senate what our constituents desire and deserve.
Thank you. And Becky?
Well, thank you, John. You know, I've spent my life in public service, a lot of community work, and then I ran Sertoma Center serving adults with disabilities for basically a quarter of a century. And so my passion has always been what I can do to help vulnerable people. And, you know, when you can pass bills that saves life, like the Silver Alert bill that I passed, or that protects vulnerable children that are in custody hearings like Abriel's Law, you know, that makes worth the sacrifice that I make and my family makes to be away from them and be in Nashville and go to all the meetings and events here in Knoxville, because I do show up at everything. But I love this community. I'm a native here, and I'll do anything I can to help it.
We'll dig further into the issues. Let's start with you, Don.
So, Domonica, I think it'd be good, I know a little bit about you, but for our audience to hear a little bit about your background professionally, what you do,
Yes.
a little bit about your family, and what part of town you live in. I know you live
Yes.
in the 8th, but where, you know, tell us what you do and a little bit about you.
Sure. So I've worked for the Department of Children's Services for 16 years. And out of those 16 years, 6 of those years I investigated severe abuse cases. So those are going to be the sexual abuse cases, the physical abuse cases where there's an injury. And then after that, I was lucky enough to take a promotion where I did what the layperson would call mediation between the department and those who are fighting to have their rights restored, their parental rights restored. And then I took another promotion where now I am the professional development coach for the entire East region. So that's 8 counties, as far north as Scott County and as far south as Monroe County. I am a mother of 3 amazing children with my husband, LeVar, that we've been married for 16 years, just past July, and I live out west. And so I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. I moved here in 2008 and have been in the child welfare sector since graduating college.
Great.
I'd like to address this to you, Domonica, because you talked about wanting to be a voice, and a strong voice for the district. What exactly do you think is that you need to be a voice for? Is it guns, children, safety? What exactly were you interested in being a voice for?
All the above. So one of the things I'm very, very passionate about is securing our children's future. And that is from making sure we're fully funding our public schools so that they can get world-class education, but also making sure they have safe spaces. And so specifically what that would look like is common sense gun safety legislation, as well as making sure that our little girls grow up with full bodily autonomy and making sure they can make choices about their own body if need be. And so when I look at that, I look at it as making sure that we can secure our children's future.
Okay, so abortion issues and gun safety.
How about reproductive rights? Because I think it's broader than abortion.
All right, let's say that. Becky,
Correct.
let's talk about it. You've been very engaged in these issues. And
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I've passed legislation that about child sex abuse and educating kids in the schools about that. I've done maternal health issues. Mental health is a big one. I actually co-chaired a national task force
that with the Lieutenant Governor from Colorado on mental health and employment, and disabilities. It's to me, I try to be a voice for the voiceless, and things that people don't even know about that exist, that they want somebody there that listens to them and that acts on it. I actually, by working with my legislators, my co-workers there in the Senate, I passed 30 of my 31 bills this year unanimously. That is with bipartisan support on both sides, because I work with people, I show them the respect, and I don't go in there saying that I'm just going to make a statement and I've got to get 100% of something. I want to make a difference in people's lives. And then the other side of the coin is I do chair the Transportation and Safety Committee, and so I tell people I'm not really engineering mindset, but our infrastructure is so important, and I'll continue to work on that too.
Let's clarify, if we could, Domonica, a little bit. You mentioned reproductive rights.
Yes.
Tennessee now has one of the most restrictive access to abortion laws in the state of Tennessee. What are you saying you want to do differently?
To be very clear, I would like to see a restoration of Roe versus Wade restrictions, going back to that time. That is what I would be fighting for in Nashville, but the absolute lowest bare minimum is adding some type of exceptions to our abortion laws for rape and incest. With the department, I've investigated cases where there is a 12-year-old that's pregnant by an uncle.
That really happens in our state, by the way.
That absolutely happens.
A lot of times we'll hear it demonized or politicized, at least.
Yes, absolutely.
More on the right saying that's just mythology that the left wants to push to get access to abortion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I've investigated those cases, and so it absolutely happens. And to know that in our state that a child would have to be forced to carry a pregnancy to term is inhumane. And so it's not this fallacy where people think it doesn't happen, or this fallacy of thinking that as a Democrat I'm going to really be a proponent of late-term abortions or things like that. That doesn't happen. And so what I'll be fighting for is to restore those rights back to Roe versus Wade restrictions.
We're going to take a break now, but I want to hear from you, Becky, when we come back from commercial. You're watching Inside Tennessee. As I said, we're going to take this quick break, and then we'll be right back.